If you're here in the Wichita metro area and you're considering buying a home this fall, in the back of your mind, you might be thinking, I wonder if I should wait until spring when there's more homes on the market. Well, great news. I ran the data and I did find that fall buyers will get one thing that spring buyers don't, and that's the leverage. There's a long-standing belief that spring is the best time to buy because, well, that's when more homes are available. And there is some truth to that. We typically do see more inventory that comes available during the spring and summer months, but that doesn't automatically mean that it's the best time for every single buyer. Hi, I'm Nick Widener with Reese Nichols, South Central Kansas, and I've been tracking the market data in the Wichita metro area every single week for over 4 years. And here are 4 things that I think buyers should pay attention to this fall. Number one, negotiating power. And this is probably the single biggest advantage I see buyers having in the fall. Now, I want you to picture this. You're a home seller who put your home up on the market in, let's say, late July, early August. Now, here we are in late October, early November, and the home is still up for sale, still waiting for that perfect buyer. Now, we've been on the market now for a couple of months, so we've had a couple months worth of showings, a couple months worth of feedback, and maybe even done a price reduction or two. That's a very different negotiating situation than a home that just hit the market on a Thursday in April. Now, it doesn't mean every seller is desperate, and I'm definitely not telling you to walk in and offer 20% under the asking price. But time on market gives you information, and information creates negotiating opportunities. Number two is inventory. This is where I think buyers get confused. Yes, new listing activity typically slows as we move out of the summer selling season and into fall. So if you're waiting for spring because you want the absolute largest number of homes to choose from, well, there's an argument for waiting. Here's what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't assume that every single house you're going to want is going to magically appear next spring. There are already homes on the market that have been sitting through summer, and some of those sellers are going to be very motivated to get a deal done before the end of the year. So you're not just shopping the new inventory, you're shopping the inventory that's already been tested by the market. Third, competition. Now, I'm going to be careful here and not make the same mistake that many other agents make. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there are definitely fewer buyers in the fall. I've actually ran the data. It's difficult to prove, and it does vary depending on the price range and the neighborhood. But what does change is the type of buyer who is actively shopping. In the spring and summer, there are plenty of people who are just starting to look. They're going to open houses, they're scrolling on Zillow, they're finding out what they like, and maybe thinking about buying sometime later. By fall, some of those people have already bought. The people still actively looking may have a reason and a timeline. Maybe a lease is ending, a job is changing, the family is growing, or maybe it's a relocation. So while you can't assume that there's no competition, you may be competing in a very different environment than you were just 6 months earlier. Now, here's the big one: interest rates. I know there's a reason for a lot of buyers are sitting on the sidelines right now, and I completely understand it. But here's the thing: I don't know where mortgage rates are going to go next year, and neither does anyone else. Maybe they come down, and maybe they stay around where they are. Maybe something happens in the economy that pushes them higher. So if you're waiting for rates to drop, that's a perfectly reasonable decision as long as you're making it based on your finances and not somebody else's prediction. If you find the right house this fall, the payment works for your budget, and the price makes sense, you don't necessarily need to wait for the perfect interest rate because you can potentially refinance a mortgage later if the rate improves. But you can't go back and buy the house you passed on 6 months ago at today's price. Now, here's the part that I'm not going to sugarcoat. Fall isn't automatically better for buyers. If you have a particular school district that you want to be in, maybe there's a specific neighborhood that you want to live in, a particular amenity that stands out to you that you really, really want, or maybe there's just a floor plan that you really like. By waiting till spring, you might have more options. And if your finances aren't quite ready, buying in the fall just because some random guy on YouTube says it's a great time to buy isn't probably the best thing to do. The perfect time to buy is when your finances, your timeline, and the perfect home all line up. So is fall a good time to buy in Wichita? I think it can be, especially for a buyer who's prepared and willing to look beyond just the newest listings. You may have fewer homes coming onto the market, but you also have months of information on homes that are already there, potentially more negotiating opportunities, and sellers who may have a reason to get something done before the end of the year. So don't automatically assume spring is better. Sometimes the best opportunity isn't the newest house on the market, it's the one that's been sitting there waiting for the right buyer. If you're thinking about buying this fall and you want to see what the numbers look like for your budget, your neighborhood, then the houses that you're looking for, give me a shout. Let's run the numbers. There's no pressure, there's no sales gimmicks, just real honest numbers to give you a real picture of what your situation looks like. And if you want more straightforward data about what the Wichita market actually is doing, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you on the next one.